Good morning, everybody. Jim Feist and Joe Mac. Back, we got a lot to talk about, Joe. Today, well, let's kick it off not kick it off, we'll just throw out the first pitch. This is the first day of the playoffs in the baseball, so that's pretty exciting.
It is. I mean, we didn't have that down to the last game excitement. I mean, last week, people were talking about possible play-in games and whatnot as we had last year, but that didn't happen. A little bit of the air went out of the baseball balloon in that regard, but you know what? You really got a nice postseason ahead here. I mean, you can really, I know there's a lot of folks right away jumping ahead of the American League thinking it's going to be an automatic Astros-Yankees American League Championship Series. You know, the odds are that it will be, but I wouldn't think that's a slam dunk. I tell you, the Twins are a very different team than what we've seen in recent years. Not just the home runs; they're a little bit grittier. They don't strike out that much at the plate for a team that set a record for home runs. So they're going to be tough. And I'll tell you, the National League, Jim, to me, the more I look at it, the more I can make a case for 4 or 5 of the teams right now. The Dodgers are the odds-on favorite, but let's face it, they've coasted this whole last couple of months of the season, and history kind of tells us in recent years that's not usually great for a team. It's better to have something to play for down the stretch and be sharp. And in that regard, a team like the Cardinals could be a danger. Certainly a team like the Brewers, if they happen to get past Washington and beat Scherzer or beat the Nationals bullpen, they could be trouble. So I think it's going to be a wild postseason. I think you're going to see a couple of upsets in the rounds, and I think it's going to be exciting, which is good because, let's face it, it was not really a great baseball season. No real races for first place for the most part, except for a little late developing Cubs, Cardinals, Brewers stuff. But anyway, I think we're going to see some good action. We're certainly going to see a lot of guys coming out of the bullpen for all of these teams, and that's going to be the thing. Who pitches the best in the 8th, 9th innings? And maybe in the case of the Yankees-Twins, maybe who hits the most home runs might decide that series too.
Well, you're right. It's going to be exciting in the National League. I see this matchup today, Milwaukee and Washington, as a critical matchup because if Washington gets their pitching together, their starting pitching is incredible. Their strikeout ratio is incredible. Those 3 guys, if they get going, and they can go a long way. And the Dodgers are not invincible. I have the Dodgers to win it, but it's a small play. Not much edge there. But the long shots, I did bet. These long shots, I put a little money on Milwaukee, and I put a little money on Washington. And you could roll that over, or just take or take a futures bet, which you can do both actually. But I agree with you. And as far as the Yankees are concerned, well, they're going to have, I think their pitching staff is finally going to bite them in the butt. I mean, they just don't have that pitching to go that far. In this time of the year, traditionally, it's not the bats that win it, it's the pitching that wins it. And you get shutdown pitchers like Verlander or Cole. I don't know how you get by guys like that.
Yeah, I agree. Maybe I'm a traditionalist or whatever, but I'd much rather, and we talked about this last week, I'd much rather have the strong arms to start the game and hope for the solid 7 innings, 7+ innings from, like you said, from Houston's staff with Verlander and Cole and Greinke. And the Yankees, let's face it, it was kind of a crapshoot all year, except for the last 10 or 11 starts by their Game 1 starter, Paxton. He really was excellent from early August on. He really pitched great, but, the Yankees have had so many injuries this year. I think I read we have 39 different visits to the injured list, some guys multiple times. But now Paxton has a bit of a back or backside type of muscle injury himself. He claimed in the New York papers at the New York meeting yesterday that he's fine, but they were a little concerned about him. And I mean, it also looks like they're not going to start Tanaka in Game 2, that they're going to have him come out of the pen in the 3rd inning or so, figuring that if he could give them 5 good innings, that would bridge them into the 8th, 9th role of Chapman, Britt, Ottavino. That's a little dangerous, too. I mean, it's not what Tanaka's used to. He did it the other day in Texas as like a trial run. But I don't know. I mean, I could really see the Twins winning one of the first two at Yankee Stadium and then going back there and then putting major pressure on Severino and maybe an opener. I mean, the Yankees really better win the first two games at the stadium Friday and Saturday. Otherwise, I think the Twins might have them up against the wall. And again, I'd rather just have the old-fashioned. I mean, the Dodgers have their starters with Kershaw, Buehler, and Ryu. I'd rather go that route. I mean, I'd like to have a nice bullpen, which, as we talked about all season, how many teams really have a strong bullpen? Not many. But I'd rather go with those guys because when you start going bullpen and you start going where you're asking your bullpen to get you 15 outs or 14 outs in a game, you've got to have every guy right on. And that doesn't always happen. Even the Yankees saw that in a couple of games earlier this month where Ottavino came in and couldn't throw a strike, or Britton came in and gave up a long ball. You need four guys, let's say, out of the pen to give you excellence for 14 outs worth. That's hard to ask. I'd rather go the old way and ask for a guy to give me 7 plus, and then go from there.
Well, I agree with you. But we've been around a while and we've seen baseball go through this evolution. I think they've gone too much to the bullpen, personally, and I don't think it works. And we got to get these starters to go a little deeper. But I understand it's kind of like they're saving their arms and cutting down on the pitches. We got another game we got going on Wednesday. We got another wild card game. We got Tampa at Oakland. What do you think about that matchup?
Well, a lot of people I see advancing the Yankees right into the next round to be playing Houston. And, Tampa Bay, we know what they're about. They're a dangerous team. They play good defense. They hit timely hits. They're a pain in the neck to beat. The problem with them is, can they get 6 innings or so or more from Charlie Morton? And now he's been their best pitcher this year. It's funny to say that because Snell was the Cy Young winner last year, but let's face it, he was hurt, missed most of this year, was generally ineffective otherwise, so I don't think he takes it as slight that Morton's getting the start. And Morton has great stuff. We saw him in the postseason 2 years ago as an Astro. I mean, he really baffled the Yankees in a couple of different outings. He's dangerous, and that's the key here. That the crowd's going to be wild there in Oakland. We know that team can go long ball on you. I think if Morton gives them 6 innings of 2-run ball and you get into the last 6 outs of that game on both sides, Tampa Bay is tough to beat. They do all the small things and everything. I just haven't seen a lot of sentiment for Tampa Bay winning this game, and I don't understand it because no matter who the A's start with, and at last check, they still have undecided, and they may go, with an opener here. I mean, Morton's going to be the best pitcher on the hill, at least for the first, or you would figure for the first 6 innings. So Tampa, obviously, always dangerous, having to make this trek across country probably doesn't help them, but, watch out for them. I mean, I've been reading different accounts from people, and it seems like nobody is picking Tampa Bay. So I'd be a little scared if I were the A's, just because they had such a great second half. That momentum doesn't always carry into the regular season. And as the A's found out last year, you could have one bad inning to open the game, first inning, second inning, get 3 runs put up against you, and you never come back. So Tampa's dangerous here, and to me, they've got the better starting pitcher. I don't know if they have enough offense through 9 innings here to get them through 4 or 5 different Oakland pitchers, but we shall see. They're dangerous, and it comes down to bullpens. Like we said, these teams all use 1 million guys. Tonight with the Nationals, I'm pretty confident Scherzer's going to give them 6 innings of strong ball, but I think the question there is, does Dave Martinez go to the other starters to give him a couple of outs? I got this feeling he's going to do that. I saw him on an interview yesterday on MLB Network, and I get the feeling he is not going to hesitate to go to Strasburg or Patrick Corbin to get the last 6 or 7 outs of this game. So I like Washington tonight, and I think Tampa's a little dangerous tomorrow.
I'm with you with Washington, and I do think they're going to go to the other starters as there's the relievers, and that's pretty dangerous. I mean, those guys are just devastating if they're on. So I think Milwaukee is a little bit up against it, and I don't like the fact that they they chucked it the last 3 games of the season. They didn't win, and I know that they overcame a lot when they lost Yelich, but they did overcome it because they went on a run of 18 out of 20, and then they did blow off the last 3 games. But Woodruff is tough. I mean, he can throw some innings at you, and they do have a pen to go to. But that's a big price. I'm on Scherzer in Washington today as well. We're probably ask another question. We might as well make this a full baseball podcast. We'll do another one for football. St. Louis, Atlanta. We never mentioned either one of those 2 teams. What do you think?
I'm looking at the odds to win it all, and they've got the Braves at 6-1. They've got the Cardinals at 13-1. I got to be honest with you, Jim. I think right now, just in this series, now I don't know what the series price is. I've seen it move around, but I think it's pretty much a toss-up series. You got to look at, delve into this here. The Braves have some problems. The first baseman, Freddie Freeman's had some elbow-related injuries lately. I saw a stat where he went into the series this past week at Citi Field in New York. He went in hitting 1 for his last 31. He's got some real pain in his elbow, and he's having a real problem going deep. I think he's only hit 1 home run in the month of September. Also, you've got their 40-40 guy, Acuna. He's got some injuries. So they've got some issues right now. And again, there was a meaningless series this past weekend in New York. I watched a good bit of the Mets and the Braves. And I'll tell you what, I watched Dallas Keuchel pitch the other night. To me, he's an average pitcher right now. He doesn't have great stuff. He certainly, he likes to be that crafty left-hander, but he's not fooling a lot of guys. And even Soroka, who they're counting on now, that kid's been great on the road. Their rookie right-hander, Mike Soroka, and he's scheduled to pitch Game 3 in St. Louis. That could be series tied 1-1, and you're asking a wet behind-the-ears kid to pitch you, to get your back home field advantage in Game 3 in St. Louis. Could be tough stuff. I don't know. The Cardinals look very live to me right now. They've obviously had a great last 2 months of the season. A lot of things going right for them. They've managed to do this with a guy like Carpenter really having a bad year. They've had Molina out a lot, but they've had Ozuna, the left fielder, out a lot, but they've not only persevered, they've really been very successful. I think they're dangerous. I think at 13-1, they look like a nice little take a flyer on them to win this whole thing. Obviously, that their road would be as follows. They'd have to beat the Braves. They probably have to beat the Dodgers. Then they probably have to beat the Yankees or Astros. It looks like a tough road ahead, but I tell you, Cardinals maybe to win the whole thing and maybe to win the National League pennant might plunk down a few little bombs on those guys. I think they're the more dangerous team right now, and I'd give them the slight edge over the Braves in that best of 5.
You never mentioned Flattery, who might be. He doesn't get the ink, but man, he has been red hot since the All-Star game.
You're right. It's funny because they lost the first 2 games of that weekend series, and if you listen to the quotes on Saturday, the Cardinals were like, "That's all right. We've got Flaherty pitching tomorrow," and I'm thinking, "Geez, that." Treat this guy like he's Sandy Koufax. Well, lately he's been Sandy Koufax. You're right. I probably buried the lead there. He's probably the top guy. The trouble you have, though, in these postseason games, Jim, I can remember back to different postseason series, whatever. I'll go for one almost 20 years ago when the Diamondbacks wound up winning it all back in 2001. I went into that postseason saying, hey, I love the Diamondbacks, but they pretty much have to win every start that Schilling and Randy Johnson make. Well, you know what? They won almost every start those 2 guys made. I look at the Cardinals that way. Flaherty pitching, they've pretty much got to win all their starts in the postseason if I think they're going to be, deep into the postseason. So he's the key. He's a key. But, the Cardinals do so many other things right. And, they spun it around forever and ever, whereas the Braves, who were criticized for not doing much in the offseason, they did get Josh Donaldson, who had a wonderful year. But you know what? There's some outs in that Braves lineup that not only Flaherty but other guys can, they can navigate their way around guys. And if, like I said, if Freddie Freeman is not the Freddie Freeman we know, the Braves are going to have a little more problem because their lineup is going to be a little less hefty and less scary for not only Flaherty but for the other Cardinal pitchers.
Well, I agree with you. You have a great angle and great insight in these baseball matchups. What do you got going at Jim Hurley right now?
Well, we got a lot happening. We're going to definitely get involved a lot on the baseball side. Let me give out the toll-free number for everybody. It's 1-800-323-4453. Again, toll-free telephone number. We've been around since 1985, the Jim Hurley Network. 1-800-323-4453, or else you can get our plays online at www.jimhurley.com. As we said, a lot of baseball will definitely be involved in tonight's National League Wildcard game. Tomorrow's NL Wildcard game. A lot of football going too. You know, we're getting obviously more and more in college football into conference play, which thank God, because really, I mean, you've done well. We've done fairly well in the college football so far, but too many of these cupcake games. Let's get down to business and play more conference. I mean, it's exciting to think of Iowa playing Michigan and games of that nature this week. So we're getting into the conference play. We're starting to get a real feel for a lot of these teams. And obviously we've got the NFL, which, you know, before we started this broadcast, you and I were talking about how the Dogs are just, you know, kicking butt right now. They're, according to my records, 36-24 against the spread in the NFL. That's a 60% rate. And we had 7 outright underdog winners this past week, and some of them short numbers, of course. But, you know, you've got to respect the fact that this is a changing league, as you said. A lot of new quarterbacks, a lot of different kind of guys coming into the scene. I mean, who would have known that Kyle Allen would come in for Carolina and get the back-to-back road wins and covers, which is pretty amazing stuff. And, you know, you've got other teams that are just having a hard time getting out of their way. The Atlanta Falcons, I mean, Matt Ryan can put up 390 yards every game. It doesn't seem to matter. He turns the ball over, and they don't make the big stop on defense. So we're a month through the season. I'm just picking those 2 NFC South teams out because if you would have told me 4 weeks into the season the Panthers would have 2 wins and Cam Newton would not have played in either one of them, I might have scratched my head. And you know, I look at the Falcons, who I told you in the summer I thought we were going to be an 11-win type of team. Well, they ain't getting to 11 wins this way. So, you know, we've had some major disappointments in the NFL, and they're certainly costing people who play on them. Somebody said the other day on a show, it seems like every week you look up and the Falcons are down 2 scores before you've even, you know, taken the first bite of your sandwich. I mean, it's amazing. Every week they seem to be down 10-0, 14-0, and they're digging out of a hole. So some NFL teams that have been disappointments, we're going to keep an eye on them, and obviously the Jim Hurley Network going to have a lot of plays. Week 5 in the NFL this week. Got a lot of really good matchups on hand, as it turns out. Obviously, the creme de la creme is the Packers and the Cowboys Sunday afternoon in the 4 o'clock time frame, the Eastern time. And that'll be the best one of them out there. But anyway, we're going to see what goes on. We're going to see if the Cowboys can deliver a few more points than the other day when they looked a little meek on offense. Well,
they did, but they ran into a pretty good defense coming off of 3 games where they played some weaklings, Miami, Giants, Washington, and they ran into a really good team on the road, tough spot. Teddy Bridgewater was average at best, but the defense for the Saints was dynamite. That was a big winner for me. We've been red hot, by the way, Joe. We 29-9 in our NFL plays in the last 15 games. We won 10 in the college ranks. So it's been real good. We're looking forward to this week with baseball today and then the rest of the week. And then with the college, like you said, the conference games and the NFL, it's really an exciting time. And guess what? We got the WNBA championship, Connecticut against Washington. That's exciting. And then we have the hockey starting up, and pretty soon we're going to have college and pro basketball. Oh, gee, well, how many hours are there in the day? I don't know.
I looked up, I'm watching a show the other day about the NHL, and it's saying the season starting Wednesday. I said, oh, my God, that's right, it is Wednesday, and who knows? Every year you can almost pick out of a hat who's going to win it all. I mean, who out there can raise their hand and say they had the St. Louis Blues last year to win it all, especially when they were the second worst team in the league as of like New Year's Day or something. But all said, we know that October is a great, great month. I mean, football, full steam ahead. The baseball postseason, it's always got, the baseball postseason never disappoints. It's always got some great action. And again, early season hockey and NBA coming. I mean, I know in this area with the hockey, there's a lot of excitement. The Rangers and Devils had the top 2 picks in the amateur draft last year. And these kids, they're talking about them as 15-year superstars. The kid Hughes, he looks like he's about 9 years old. But I tell you what, I looked over the NHL odds to win it all, and I see the Devils at 25 to 1. And I said, you know what? They might be worth plunking down on. They made some nice off-season moves. They got Subban to play defense and be on that power play. And you got the Rangers. They're rebuilding, but you know what? They're going to be an exciting team. So I'm sure it's going to be a great year in the NHL, and people will be getting into action, especially those the win-it-all plays and the over-under plays and things like that.
It's exciting. For me, I've been doing this for half a century, and I don't regret it. I enjoy it. I enjoy getting up every day, and of course, I'm happier on days that I win. But I get up every day, and I look forward to that day's action. And again, mention what's going on at Jim Hurley.
All right. Well, Jim Hurley Network, been around since 1985. I've been with them since 1994. That's a long time. We've been giving out winners for obviously all those years. We wound up having a solid season so far. A little shaky on my end this past weekend, but you know what? We always do well in the colleges, and we do in the pros too, but college football has really been a specialty in recent years. We've really got our finger on the pulse of a few of the teams out there right now, and we're going to be either riding those teams or going against those teams, but you got to jump into the action again. It's a toll-free number, 1-800-323-4453, 1-800-323-4453. All you got to do, folks, is call us or go online to jimhurley.com. The day of the games, when it's the weekend, Saturday and Sunday, we're up by 10:30, 11 a.m. New York time, where you can get the plays. Weekday games such as today with the Wildcard, anytime after 12 noon Eastern time, check in. We'll have the plays for you. You won't be sorry.
That's right, and I've known Joe a long time in the Jim Hurley Network, and you guys pick winners, and we pick winners at jimfeist.com too, so make sure you sign up for them. We're going to fill your pockets, and we need it for Christmas because we got a lot of presents to buy, so and that's coming down the road too, Joe. Have a great day, Joe. Thank you.
All right, Jim, talk to you soon. Looking forward to it.
Okay, buddy. Everybody, thank you for tuning in, and make sure you go to those websites and call that number, and go to jimfeist.com as well. But we'll be back with more podcasts and lots of winners for the weekend.